mis panas, emocionense, porque vamos a aprender de verbos comunes. Hey y'all, get excited because we're going to learn about some common verbs. So get yourself some papel, not actually toilet paper, it just means normal paper, y una pluma o un lápiz. Um, if you guys already know these verbs, this could be a good review, but I've also categorize them into helpful categorías so that you can remember them más fácilmente. Okay, vamos a empezar. If this actually, we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so desde mi perspectiva, there's tres categories of verbos comunes. Other than the ones we've already learned, these ones are a little bit more complicados with the way they're conjugated. And so we're going to start with stem changers, which are also called boot verbs or verbos de bota, and you're going to see why pretty soon. Verbs that are called yo-go verbs. And then I couldn't really think of a name for these last one, but there'll be y, so y's. And fun fact, y, so that's this how you say y in Spanish, but it's because it's the e, like the Greek e, because griega means Greek. And so like the I sound, but it's Greek. So anyway, that's kind of fun. I would recommend, if you don't know these verbs, to try to become as proficient as you can before we get to campo, because they're like the most común verbs that you're going to ever find. Okay. So, vamos a empezar con los verbos de bota. So, these two verbs are poder and querer. Poder is to be able to do something. So, like, I can, or can you get this for me? I can jump. I can whatever. I can wake up. And they're called verbos de bota porque the way in which you conjugate them is in the shape of a bota. So we know we have the different pronouns yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, nosotras. There's also vosotros, but we don't need to worry about that. And then ellos, ellas, ustedes. The middle part of this verb, like the O of poder, is going to change from O to UE when we conjugate for the yo, tú, él, ella, usted, and ellos, ellas, ustedes, but not the nosotros one. So it's not puedo, it's puedo. Yo puedo. Tú puedes. Ella puede. Ellas pueden. And then querer is to want. So it's this one is not O to UE because we don't have any O's in this word. It's the E, the first E to IE. So it's quiero, quieres, quiere, quieren. And we can see that the endings of these verbs are the same as they were before when we were learning the ER endings. They're still O, es, hemos, and en, but what changes is the middle part, the stem, in the boot form. But what's not going to change is the nosotros part. So on the left, we have podemos, nosotros podemos, we can. And on the right, we have nosotros queremos. One mistake that sometimes people make with pronunciation with querer is they'll call it querer because, you know, in English we say que, but it's not, it's que, quiero, quieres, kind of like a key, like you're switching a key. Some other verbs that are stem changers that are O to UE, you can find in the lower left-hand corner. So they're encontrar, which is to find. So encuentro. So if you've ever heard of the encuentro dominicano, that means encounter. So the encuentro dominicano, which is the study abroad for ILAC, that's where that comes from. And it comes from the yo form. Yo encuentro. Dormir, which is to sleep. Duermo, duermes, duerme, duermen, and then dormimos because it's an IR verb. So the nosotros ending is imos and not hemos. Dormimos. Contar is to count. Cuento. Oh, so it means to count or to tell. So like you can tell a story. Yo cuento una historia. Or if you want to, you can also say I tell a story, which is yo cuento un cuento. Anyway. Llover is to rain. llueve, you don't say I rain, lluevo, that doesn't make any sense. It's more like llueve, it rains, or está lloviendo. Acostarse, we talked about last week. That's a reflexive verb. So it's me acuesto, tú te acuestas, ella se acuesta, nosotros nos acostamos, ellas se acuestan. So this is something maybe you're like in your host family's house and they're gonna like, okay, vamos a acostarnos, or like, adiós, me acuesto, buenas noches. So that's an example. I feel like I put, okay, yes. So then for E to IE, there's pensar, entender, and empezar. Empezar is to start, but we're going to go over the conjugations for pensar and entender on the next slide because I think that these are like, I would say, extra bonuses. So if you have extra time, you can learn these ones, but I feel they're very helpful. So as I am saying these, I want you guys to say it along with me to practice your pronunciation because it's really good to say it out loud and to just get it out of your mouth. So, okay, so another more boot verbs are pensar and entender, so they're E to IE. So we change in the pensar, we change la E a una I. So yo pienso, tú piensas, ella piensa, nosotros pensamos, ellos piensan. Or it's also usted piensa, ustedes piensan. Pensar que is a good expression to know. It means like to think that or to believe that something. So I can say like, pienso que Creighton es una buena universidad. And you can come up with your own sentences como ejemplos for this. Entender is to understand. You've probably heard like in movies people say like, oh, yo comprendo or yo no comprendo. It's better to say instead of comprendo, that means comprehend. It sounds a little bit weird to be like, I comprehend. It's better to say like, I understand. So that's yo entiendo or yo no entiendo. Tú entiendes, entiende. So this could be a really useful expression when you're talking to patients. If you're explaining a procedure or if you're not sure if somebody understands what you're saying, you can be like, ¿Usted me entiende? Do you understand me? ¿Usted entiende la enfermedad? Like, do you understand the sickness? So those are some examples. And then nosotros entendemos. Again, we don't do the stem changer for the nosotros. And then ustedes, ellos, ellas entienden. The participles and the gerunds are below, and this is just I guess we don't need to get into this a ton, but the gerund is just the ing. So, pensando, thinking. Estoy pensando, I am thinking. Entendiendo, understanding. Está entendiendo la lección. He's understanding the lesson. So, there you go. All right, so now we're on to yo-go verbs, and these are called yo-go verbs because the yo form ends in go. Pretty simple. The rest of the verbs are conjugated normally. There's no like weird ending. It's just the normal ER, AR, IR endings. And I guess for all of these ones that I've put, they're ER. So hacer is to do or to make. So hacer la cena, to make dinner. Hacer deporte, to do sports. So this is a very versatile verb. You can use it for like a majillion things. Yo, so the CER gets replaced with go. Yo go. So yo hago. The rest are normal. So you just take the last two letters and do it normal. Tú haces, usted hace, nosotros hacemos, vosotros, well, we're not doing vosotros, and then ustedes hacen. An example of a sentence you might use for this is like, usted, ¿qué hace para trabajar? What do you do for work? I guess a more normal way to say that would be like, ¿en qué trabaja usted? But hacer makes sense too. Poner is to put. It can also mean to like set a table, like poner la mesa. So if you're with your host family and they're having dinner, it can be like, vamos a poner la mesa, yo pongo la mesa. Um, this could also be like for a patch or something, like a medicine patch, una parcha. I think it's parcha. Parche, yeah, it's parcha. Usted va a poner una parcha. Pone una parcha. Tener, this is like huge, very important verb to have. Like tengo, tien. So we see that this is a yo-go verb, but it's also a boot verb. So the yo form is tengo, right, with the go. But the rest are stem changers, except for nosotros. So it's tú, the E switches to an IE. So tú tienes, usted tiene, ustedes tienen, nosotras tenemos. This tener is used a lot for health conditions. So like I have a cold, tengo gripe. Are you light of breath? Tiene fatiga? Or do you have pain? Tiene dolor? Stuff like that. Okay, the verbs ending in Y. So 3 super important ones. Ir is to go. So yo voy, I called it ending in Y because the yo form ends in a Y. This is another regular verb, but only the yo form is irregular. So yo voy, tú vas, ella va, nosotros vamos, ustedes van. This is something that we say a lot in our lessons. I feel like I say it specifically when I'm teaching. I'll be like, vamos a hacer una lección. Hacer, as a reminder, is to do. So, vamos a hacer práctica. We're going to do some practice. Voy a recetarle un medicamento. I'm going to prescribe you a medication. It also means going to in terms of like traveling. So, voy al campo. Vas a la clínica. Va a su casa. Ellos van a trabajo. So, those are some examples. Haber, this is kind of like a more complicated verb and it's used for a bunch of different things. So, the one form I want you guys to know, it technically means to have, but we're just going to focus on the form hay, which is there is or there are. Hay vacas, which there are cows. Hay citas disponibles, are there any available appointments? Hay sol, actually you wouldn't say hay sol, sorry, hace sol, which means it's hot out, or it's sunny. Hay personas en la clínica, there are people in the clinic. Then the last one is dar, which is to give, and again the yo form ends in a y, so doy. The rest are normally conjugated. Tú das, usted da, nosotros damos, ellos dan. This could be used for like, I'm going to give you a medication. Le doy un medicamento. Or if we're going to combine the ir, a, and the dar, it could be like, le voy a dar un medicamento. I'm going to give you a medicine. Le voy a dar un examen, for example. Another example of voy a could be like, voy a hacer un cheque de la presión. I'm going to do a check of blood pressure. So, hacer, to do a check. All right, so that is all for these verbs. I would recommend practicing via conjuguemos in terms of conjugations. This is a site where you can input the verbs that you want and practice conjugating them. So I've got it set to present tense all verbs, and we're going to do only favorite verbs. There's 24 verbs that I selected because they're very common, and I think we've already talked about them. So aprender, to learn, cepillarse, to brush one's hair. You can add more if you want, but the ones I've selected are dar, decir, dormir, entender, estar, hablar, hacer, ir, llevar, mirar, morir, to die. You could do oír if you want. That's also a go verb, so it's oigo, oye, or oigo, oyes, oye, oímos, oyen. Pensar, to think. Perder is to lose, which is another stem changer. It's an E to IE, so it'd be like pierdo, pierde, pierdes, etc. Poner. Ponerse is like to put something on oneself or to become, and this is a reflexive verb. So if you want to practice those reflexive verbs from last week, you can do that. Preocuparse, if you're a little bit more advanced, you could choose that one. That means to worry oneself. So if somebody's asking you, like if you're worried about a condition, nah, yo no me preocupo. Querer, to want again. Recordar is to remember. That's another O to UE. So recuerdo. Saber is to know. And I don't remember if we've practiced this one, but this is a good one to practice. Sentir, to feel. Ser, to be. Tener, to have. Venir, to come. This is another example of a yo-go verb. So it's vengo. Ver, to see, which I think we've already seen this one. It's a regular verb. Just vivir is to live. And so yeah, choose whichever verbs you want to practice. So I've chosen those ones. And we're going to click, but it's only on present tense, so don't worry about the tenses. I'm going to do it for 5 minutes. So we haven't done vosotros, so I'm just going to do the skip. So entender is entiende, because it's an E to IE stem changer. Yay, I got it right. And if you don't have like a Spanish keyboard, it has the ones you can add. So tú, venir. Venir is, as we've learned from, well, actually, we didn't cover this one, but it's an E to IE stem changer. So that would be vienes. Dormir, O to UE. Duermen. So you get the point. That's how I would recommend practicing conjugations. And then there's obviously lots of ways to practice these different verbs. You can find them on the internet, basically. Just search like Hacer worksheet or something, or Hacer listening practice. And then we'll talk about the rest of the stuff at the meeting today, which is June 1st. Okay, gracias a todos, and I hope this was useful.